All right, we're live. We were hoping to have Nate here to give us wisdom. You see, Nate can't talk today, therefore he makes complete sense today. We always prefer Nate when he can't say anything. No, I'm just kidding.
Did he confirm if he's got the Rona or is it just a cold?
Oh,
I don't know.
He said. I think he said he didn't. I thought he said that they tested for it and that he doesn't.
Yeah, I just know that he lost his voice, but I think he definitely doesn't feel well. But that doesn't mean I can't make fun of him. He's my buddy. So
it's easier to make fun of the people who aren't there to defend themselves. Les absents ont toujours tort.
Absolutely. Definitely.
I'm not going to do that. I'm joking.
Well, okay. And before we go too far, I'm going to be showing an ad in just a minute because I have to sell my soul and pay some bills because I really, really, really love the fact that I have a sponsor. Kind of like David now is getting sponsors with like greens and
Field of Greens, home title lock. Two things that I got a third one coming next week, and it's legit. It's legit stuff. If you need it, you'll want it. If you don't need it, you won't want it.
Good news. Mine's actually legit too, and I bet you've heard of them. This video is being sponsored by HelloFresh. You've probably heard of them as they are America's #1 meal kit. They offer over 50 weekly options, giving an amazing amount of variety of recipes so you'll never get bored. They even have veggie, pescatarian, and fit and wholesome meals to make it easy to stick to your goals. With HelloFresh, step-by-step recipes are super easy to follow, and pre-portioned ingredients help cut out the prep time. It's also up to 72% cheaper than dining at a restaurant, according to Zagat. To try HelloFresh, just click the link below and you'll get 17 free meals across 7 boxes, plus 3 surprise gifts. Thank you very much, and thanks to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. Now, David,
Eric
I know
should
that
have
you know
an ASMR channel. I just want to say you need to have an ASMR. You have such a great voiceover voice.
Oh, well, thank you. And David, don't mock my editing. I'm new to it. So
no, it's like ASMR voice, like, oh yeah, you're gonna like the it's good stuff, by the way. There's no question about that. I felt like Eric was talking dirty to me the whole time.
Hello, David.
oh no, God.
ASMR. What's it called? HelloFresh. You're going to get the HelloFresh. You're going to like it. It's going to be warm and delicious.
Well, we need to have Emily here with her channel. I mean, Emily did it with the Constitution, so I can't touch that. Emily owns ASMR.
Tell Karen T in the chat. Good morning, Viva. Are you going to be covering the emergency inquiry? I've been watching Canada's Emergency Inquiry Act this morning. Couldn't go live because I'm alone with the 3 kids, 2 dogs. Pudge can I say shat? She shat her bed twice today. Now I've got to wash the bed. The kids pooped their beds all the time. They didn't do that. So I got the 3 kids and the 2 dogs. Couldn't go live today. I'm going to do a summary live stream this afternoon, time permitting. But you guys know what's going on in Canada?
No, but I'm sure it involves Trudeau. I see a lot every time I download David's video so it can be uploaded or whatever, and it's like, wow, look at that, it's Trudeau. It opens with Trudeau. Shocking.
Someone says, "Hey, don't feel sorry for me when you have to clean up sloppy poop off the ground. You'll feel bad." No, they're having the inquiry into Justin Trudeau having invoked the Emergencies Act, which I'm sure you all heard about here. It's basically it's sort of like the January 6th committee hearings, except it's actually somewhat adversarial. So it's not just like government lackeys looking to justify Justin Trudeau's invoking the Emergencies Act. They actually have the convoy representatives cross-examining some of the witnesses. So it's interesting, but it's going to go on for 6 freaking weeks.
So which will go longer, January 6th or your convoy hearings? I mean, come on, let's go.
Well, no, the convoy hearings are going to go longer because it's 6 weeks and it's daily. It's only a few hours a day. I'm not sure what the schedule is, but it's not like 2 years with 12 hearings. But
good news. So we can waste taxpayer money universally. Thank you.
And the outcome is going to be virtually nothing's going to happen. But in the meantime, there's some fun testimony. They had today the woman who filed the class action lawsuit against the convoy. She testified, and there's some bad. Anyways, whatever. If you're following it, it'll make more sense. But I'll cover it later.
All right. Well, okay. It's been a drama-filled week, so I want to calm things down and talk about a more mellow subject that everyone can agree is happy, We're convivial. So let's go with Alex Jones.
Oh, you're gonna lead off with that one, huh?
I mean, well, I want to take the temperature down because I
Yeah,
know
sure.
that everybody has thoughts on that. This is, by the way, a recycled joke. I only have so many. I used it on Tuesday. People liked it. So congrats. I get to use it again. Alex Jones. I was bringing up, and here he is. Nate is here in spirit. And you know what?
Boozy bucks.
He always makes more sense with cash. So see, I like Nate better and better and better all the time. He's a total rock star. Okay. I was making an analogy, and I'm going to throw it out there. Anybody but David can answer first because he hates analogies. I was pointing out that let's say that it is 100% in, defamation. Let's just go with it. And that his comments were awful, and they besmirched the dead, which I agree. Could be seen that way. There are other people who have done this kind of thing who have quote unquote profited, and people may feel the same way. There was a certain movie in the early '80s called Fahrenheit 9/11. And it could be argued that the premise of that the whole thing was an inside job and a hoax and rigged and things like that, could be seen as besmirching a lot of people who lost their lives that day. This person also did profit off of that movie. It was the #1 documentary movie of all time. At least at that time, I haven't checked lately. So I'm just curious. Am I completely off base, Rob?
The 965, the numbers. I mean, you're talking about Michael Moore right now, right?
Yes.
I've wanted to punch that man in the face for a long time, and I think people have the same reaction to Alex Jones. But just because I want to punch him in the face doesn't mean that 965 million is an appropriate damages amount. I hate this case.
By the way, just to clarify, metaphorically speaking, law and lumber, but
yeah. What is it? Steph, the altar nerd, always says, "Hello, you." I can't do her voice, but she's like, "I see you. I'm not saying anything." Was it YouTube watcher or whatever? She cracks me up.
Oh, it was from The Mask, metaphorically speaking. No, is it Nancy Pelosi talking about punching Trump in the face?
Oh, that was funny.
That was fun. No, but Eric, it's not an analogy. There have been people that have actually killed people, been found guilty of wrongful death after a civil suit that have been ordered to pay less. It's an absolute outrage of the highest order that everybody understands it is. It's just that people who hate Alex Jones will tolerate the injustice. 90 million for the FBI agent because allegedly said he was not an FBI agent or questioned the fact that he was a crisis actor based on an outdated $90 million, not punitive damages, but compensatory. It's a joke. It makes a joke of the system, and everybody knows it.
So, it's the compensatory part. Like, even if you take this, look, take your opinions out of it. The compensatory damages of that amount, that opens itself up for reevaluation or review on appeal because you have to justify that amount. The jury just can't say 30 million is the actual amount. When you call it compensatory, it has to actually have a nexus to the actual damages received. There had to have been evidence proving that this dollar figure was the appropriate remedy to compensate each of the people, the plaintiffs in this case. And throughout the entire process there, I didn't see that there was that valuation given. Like, how did they get there? It just feels punitive. And that is not what the trial court system is set up to do. Like, punitive damages are supposed to punish. The trial court system and compensatory damages are supposed to make people whole. I hated watching a lot of that.
Well, I'm going to go right to Alita because somebody pointed this out, and I was like, okay, well, that's a very clever tweet. I get your point, but you're looking too low into it. And they were saying about Alex Jones, they were saying, I think it was to Scott Cardinal, because Scott Cardinal said, well, for words, $965 million for words on podcasts, that's ridiculous. And you go, okay, so but you're fine with Amber Heard, you're fine with her getting it. So I would argue that I see the point coming in, but it's a little short-sighted because Amber Heard was defamation. We're not saying that Alex Jones's comments were not defamation. We're not even saying, or I'm personally not saying, that there should not have been a verdict against him. It's the amount that's ridiculous. When you're talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, it was shown conclusively that he lost about $50 million worth of work directly from the action. So that goes to, I guess, Rob, and the compensatory, like, you know, one of these is like the other, and it's to try to make him whole again. Alita, what are your thoughts?
So I caveat, because I can really only say so much because I haven't been following the Alex Jones cases closely. I will say close to $1 billion in damages is a lot. I mean, there is a certain like gut reaction that when you see that in any kind of a case, there has to be, I would imagine that in order to support that, I mean, like Rob was saying, you have to back it up with evidence, right? And in the Depp trial, that was they laid that out pretty clearly based on the movies that he was making one year, and then the next year, and then how much he was making the following year. But I think I don't know. I mean, that's all I can really say about it, is that my gut says that that's a very high figure. Now, at the same time, based on what I know, the allegations were, we're talking about people that were saying that the parents were harassed, parents were stalked, and to compare that situation to Fahrenheit 9/11 is a little bit different, because I don't think that resulted in people harassing families of 9/11 victims. So I'm trying to kind of parse through this as I'm listening to things in this conversation, but I haven't been following it closely enough to be able to say whether or not the verdict amount is proper or not, because I don't know what kind of evidence was laid out to support that number. But I will say at first blush, that's a massive number. That I mean, I don't think anyone could really look at Alex Jones and say, you will be able to pay this.
I followed it relatively closely. There was no evidence to justify 90 million, and there was barely any evidence to substantiate a quantum. You know, speaking to the FBI agent who said he was harassed and all these other things, there were no criminal charges filed for any alleged harassment. So, and then there was also no evidence that Jones was the one who overtly, specifically directed any of the harassment towards the people. In fact, there was evidence that they were being harassed before Alex Jones even said anything. But it's a joke. You cannot justify $90 million of damages for the FBI agent who didn't even have a kid or anyone he knew get murdered in the Sandy Hook incident. He was an agent responding who had his name, let's just take for granted, dragged through the mud, questioned. I mean, the standard now is if somebody questions law enforcement in their act as law enforcement, they can be sued civilly for defamation, and $90 million is now the acceptable standard. It made the judge made a mockery of the trial in the court, and the verdict made the jury made a mockery of the jury in the verdict.
Okay, and I want to bring this up because I get what you're saying. It is not from the fact it took place; it is from the harm suffered. Okay, fair enough. Question: $965 million worth of harm.
Well,
help me out with that. And keep in note that the previous, from what I found, I haven't been able to confirm otherwise, the previous record, and this is a libel case, and I believe libel and defamation are very closely aligned. Libel's just print, defamation is spoken. It's similar. 222.7 million against Dow Jones. Now, that's 1/4 of this. And by the way, I also want to point out that how many of these same people and everybody else who go on and they talk about that Alex Jones is a clown, right? The frogs are going to go gay. Everybody makes fun of him. He's a clown. Nobody could take him seriously. So it's like, can we have it both ways here? He is either a clown or you take him so seriously that he is 4 times worse than the Dow Jones in terms of his damage.
Just not to get strawmanned on that side, to steelman it, it's 965 million among 16 defendants. So the biggest amount was 120 million if you're going to compare apples and apples. Just so people don't fall into that trap.
That was another thing that I was thinking is how many plaintiffs were there for
former owners and employees of the MMAR group in Houston. So that's implying there's more than one person already. So it is a multi-defendant suit. So I'm going to push back, David.
No, but just so people don't say 965 million, there were 16 defendants. 120 million was the biggest award. 2.8 million was the smallest award.
So what was the 120 million?
That was for one of the parents. I don't want to say Robbie, but I'm not sure.
So here's the thing: you have to tie the words that were said by Alex.
Robert Parker, father of Emily Parker, 120 million.
Oh, that was the one who was
he was the one that Jones admitted to specifically referencing by name.
All right, so you actually have to tie the words that Jones said, and the impact it had on his reputation, the community, the harm it had on his reputation, the community. You have to tie those words to $120 million. Do you know what defamation lawsuits generally do? They go to correct your reputation. In the Johnny Depp trial, it was basically to bring Johnny Depp, make him whole, give him back the contracts that he lost because of that. In cases where you're talking about an individual, like for me, if you go and harm my reputation, it's the value of my law firm and what practice I've lost during this period of time. For an individual that's employed, it's the value of their work, their ability to continue to go to work. You have to quantify that dollar figure. So say that someone earns $100,000 a year, you multiply that by a certain number of years, and that gives you the number that you reach. How do you get from words that are said to $120 million? Compensatory damages.
I completely agree with you, Rob. It has to be backed up with those calculations and evidence backing up how those calculations make sense.
One more question too. How much money has the shooter, Adam Lanza's family paid? You know, the actual person who did the act. How much has come out of their wing?
I don't know
how much has been paid, because let's look at this for a second. How much has the school paid for possible safety protocols and things that haven't been done? Is it possible? And by the way, no, but I am not trying to defend Alex Jones. It's gross. It's disgusting. You use any term you want. But are we, in fact, trying to, as Rob said, punish him or treat him as if he was the one who committed the actual act? Meanwhile, people who are related and tied to the person who committed the actual act have paid nothing?
Yeah, I think only one family sued the school. This is what the problem with the trial was and why I found it upsetting to watch. I mean, first of all, they were treating Jones like he was the one who. The evidence being adduced was about the kids, the relationship, the tragedy, and it's beyond horror. But to adduce that as evidence in a case of defamation for what someone said about the incident, I mean, they were treating Jones like the killer, and setting aside the fact that the judge bypassed the entire jury verdict on the merits with that default verdict. Because of alleged non-compliance so severe, she defaulted to judgment and bypassed the jury. There wasn't even a trial on the merits.
Oh, good. Hold on. I got a chat here. I was waiting for this to come in. David, go to town.
Oh, geez.
He refused to participate via discovery. He lost his ability.
You're going to get Nate to jump on this stream, no matter what, from his deathbed with it right now.
Well, whatever works. But you know what? I won't have to listen.
To that individual, typically, I mean, Alita, Law and Lumber, Rob, Joe, you'll tell me in the States, typically, even in the most egregious of outright refusal, destruction of evidence in the discovery process, you are foreclosed from pleading, meaning you don't get to raise your own defense, but you still get to cross-examine because the plaintiff still has to prove their case on the merits. Because you've defaulted on discovery obligations does not mean plaintiff has proven the essential elements of their case. And a prime example is if they waited beyond the statute of limitations, you could burn all of the evidence you want in discovery. They have to prove that they acted within the statute of limitations. You still go to trial. You still make your evidence. You still let a jury decide, was there defamation? Was it intentional? Even if the defendant has acted so badly, they're precluded from defending. But a default verdict, the judge just took the job of the jury.
Well, so let me tell you about this right now, because I will answer your question, Viva, because you gave me a hypothetical, but I don't know the facts in this case. I will answer the question because you gave me a hypothetical. Hypothetically speaking, in Virginia, if I completely get barred from introducing any evidence at trial, if I have the most egregious discovery violations in the world, there's a Virginia Supreme Court case that says that I have the absolute right to cross-examine. Period. I have the right to cross-examine. I have the right to make them prove their case. I still have the right to engage in motions practice, and I have the right to be heard. If that didn't happen in this case, then you're right. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know the case. You gave me a hypothetical. That's what I'm saying.
Oh no, the judge defaulted Jones, said we're not even going to trial on the merits. He's guilty by default verdict because he was so bad in discovery. It is default verdict, intentional infliction of emotional distress and death. I don't know why I'm looking at Rob in my screen and not the camera. It went straight to only to a trial on the quantum. So egregious, Rob, that Jones wasn't even allowed testifying that he was innocent, that he didn't mean to inflict emotional distress, that he apologized, that he didn't make money off it. He wasn't even on the hearing on the quantum after having been found guilty on the merits by default by the judge, by verdict default, not going through jury. He wasn't even able to say those things in his defense on the quantum, failing contempt and probably jail. The judge was looking for it. Over the top.
What I did. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I think Viva. I think you're conflating two separate things. I'm not saying this is justified. I'm not saying this is warranted. Your question is legitimate. Your initial question as to the right to cross-examine the plaintiff and force the plaintiff to establish the merits of their case and that they check off all the elements, including what you're saying as far as defenses with respect to statute of limitations, which should be a question of laws as opposed to a question of fact for the jury, which I assume the judge already found in favor of the plaintiff with respect to that question of law, and that would leave potentially an appealable issue for the higher court. When you talk about his right to profess his innocence, that would have nothing to do. Once he defaults, he would abdicate that right. Because his protestations of innocence, that goes to his defense with respect to the elements that they have to check off. So whether or not he's protesting innocence or claiming innocence, that becomes irrelevant on that score. So I agree with everything that you said. There's an obligation, and what Rob said also, in Virginia, and I'm sure it's in all 50 states, that there's an obligation on the plaintiff that even if you get a default in your favor and the defenses are waived, that you still need to show that you meet all the elements in order to have a saleable claim that you can now get a judgment on, and that would in theory preclude Alex Jones from taking the stand and claiming that he's innocent. He could raise questions with respect to whether or not they've proven their claims, but not raise defense and say that he's innocent. That I do believe that if indeed he properly defaulted, which I'm not saying he did. I don't know enough about it to say that.
That's my question, Joe. Did he default in the pleadings? Meaning he failed to file an answer. He failed to actually come to rise and
he failed to turn over discovery. He failed to turn over discovery.
That's a different default.
You're right.
That's failing to abide by rules of procedure and decorum, and there's different penalties that are assessed in that regard. The judge has a varying number of things the judge can do. Mm-hmm. That's not him defaulting.
That's
defaulting
true. That's
is
fair point.
You failed to show up.
Rob, it's even worse than that in the Jones case. They continued to depose him after he was already found guilty by default verdict for non-compliance with discovery obligations. And everybody's watching the trial, and they're saying, I'm saying to everybody who says he defaulted, hence the death penalty of verdict. I said, well, it's clear the plaintiffs had all the evidence they ever needed under the sun, including that which he allegedly defaulted on, and people's reflexive responses. Well, he effed around, he found out, he took too long. They had the evidence on the quantum trial that they purported not to have, or that he defaulted on the merits of the defamation, but he was already found in default. So lucky them, they don't have to worry about statute of limitations. They don't have to worry about causation. They don't have to worry about whether or not people were named by name, whether or not people knew who they were, whether or not others spread the rumors and made them popular before Jones even took to it. All bypassed, fortunately, straight to default verdict, and only a trial by jury on the quantum, wherein they adduced evidence that was absolutely irrelevant to the quantum issue, just to make people think in 10 years that Jones had a trial on the merits. That's all that it was about.
Here's the only other thing the only part of that case that I did watch was I watched the cross-examination of Alex Jones, and I do have some very strong opinions about that. The attorney for the plaintiffs was being an indignant prick and completely out of line 99% of the time.
Yes.
Those questions were completely inappropriate. He was being an asshole. He was showboating for the cameras.
The one in Texas?
The judge lost complete control.
The
of her
judge was
courtroom.
a disaster. She
In
was
Connecticut,
terrible.
this was in Connecticut.
She
The
was
judge
terrible.
had no control of that courtroom and should have corrected the action right there. It would have avoided half of the outburst that we saw if the judge had control of her courtroom and acted appropriately in that instance. That's the
correct.
only part of that trial I saw, and I'm giving you a very honest assessment of that. It was bullshit.
Well, but Rob, that wasn't a cross-examination. That was their witness.
Oh, lovely. Even fucking better.
And the
Sorry.
lawyer was asking Jones questions that he knew that if Jones answered truthfully, the judge would have held him in contempt. I mean, the whole thing was in contempt because set aside protesting innocence, Joel. I mean, we can put that one aside. On the quantum, to raise the fact that he apologized and corrected his statements, and he wasn't allowed doing that on the hearing on the quantum. I mean,
That's crazy. That's
crazy.
That's crazy.
Anyhow, I put out a 34-minute summary of all the arguments, steel manning both sides, because people are going to say $1 billion, it's ridiculous. Oh, but it was 16 defendants. Oh, he was defaulted. All he had to do was comply. You know, the back and forth. But
the thing about the damages, when you think about it, is like, how can anyone even understand the difference between 5 million in damages and 10 million damages to any layperson, as far as like your defamation, your reputation was harmed? How can you quantify and say that someone's? How does anyone? These numbers are they're monopoly money. It doesn't even make sense. So to say that a jury is coming to a reasoned conclusion as to what their actual damages are, it's a joke. It's no one can even quantify in their minds the difference between 10 and 20 million, much less 100 million or whatever it is. So clearly, this entire thing is designed to make him pay for their suffering, specifically the loss of their children, not for the damage not for the emotional harm they felt afterwards, not for the damage to their reputation. This was clearly a jury that went hog wild on saying these people have dead children. Let's make him pay for that suffering that their children are dead, and that's insane. That's a miscarriage of justice. Whether you hate Alex Jones or you love Alex Jones, whatever it is, you should be caring about what justice is, what fairness is. They're supposed to get compensation for the damage to reputation and emotional harm that he specifically inflicted within the past 3 years or whenever the statute of limitations was. And to come out there and say, well, they lost children 10 years ago, and that's a terrible suffering no human should ever have to deal with. But to say that he should have to pay for their deaths is not, that is the opposite of justice. That is justice going awry. That is injustice. And that's something everyone should be fighting against.
Okay, well, while we're on this,
I was just going to say there's definitely a possibility that the decision on that number could have been a result of a conflation of overall of what these families went through with losing their children, and then what they went through with the assessment of liability is what I'm going to say, because there was no trial on the liability, right? That's what happened
Correct.
here. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was correct or incorrect. I'm just coming here and sort of listening to what you guys are saying. It sounds like there probably was some kind of very strong emotional conflation, perhaps, by that jury of those two things. And I mean, it does feel overwhelmingly punitive, that number.
Well, I don't know in Connecticut if there's a cap on punitive like there is in Texas, but there's no cap on compensatory. So who was it that said in the chat, does Viva mainline caffeine? But then underneath was a legit question. It's the judge is so over the top in this case, it feels like she's an undercover agent for Alex Jones. Like, this has to go to appeal. It has to get overturned in appeal. And imagine this is like Westboro Baptist Church decision times 10. I mean, times 13. Anyhow, it's nuts. And then you have, like, O.J. Simpson found guilty of wrongfully death, otherwise known as killing Nicole and Goldman. 36 million back then. Maybe it's more now.
Yeah, that's interesting. The super chat actually is interesting. I know Barnes has talked about it too, that the plaintiff's lawyer literally said, I think this was the Texas trial, that the whole point is to shut him down.
Yeah. And that's something that the judge should have stopped right then and there. Yeah, I didn't hear his closing, but if in fact that he actually made a claim that that's part of their duty, that should be something that enters into their calculus at all. She should have shut that damn thing down right then and there. That is terrible. That is terrible. He's asking them to basically for jury nullification as to what they're allowed to do, what they're supposed to be doing, what their agenda is. and she's just sitting there. If she sat there quietly through that, that's egregious.
And Carla in the chat says, don't people see what's happening? They're trying to take away all of our free speech. You go to Twitter yesterday, and everyone who loves this injustice is now replying to everyone else's tweets. Oh, be careful what you say. I hope you have $1 billion. Oh, did you say something about Nancy Pelosi or January 6th? I hope you have $1 billion. Not realizing for everyone who's called Trump a racist, a Yahtzee, a predator, a treasonous traitor, I hope you have $1 billion now. I mean, this is just an absurd. It's an absurd precedent all around the board.
Can we talk, Eric? You got to change the name of the fucking channel.
Well, I'm not trying. What are you doing? No, I want to. You're right. I want to talk about a case that is showing far more decorum, from what I understand.
Oh yeah, Brooks, let's do that. That's fun.
Much more reasonable conversation.
You mean like when he accused the judge of treason yesterday?
Well,
in a 15-minute motion to dismiss?
When he tried to call the entire state of Wisconsin as a witness.
Yes.
So hold on though. So we have Alex Jones, who is really not allowed to have a trial.
Oh yeah.
And we all agree that whatever he didn't actually kill anyone. And then we have somebody else who actually did kill some people. I think by all accounts, we would agree that he was driving a vehicle and people died. He can have a trial and can kind of do whatever he wants. Am I mixing things up, or am I confused?
Steelman, one's a civil case, so you can violate fundamental rights in a civil trial. In a criminal case, you have constitutional guaranteed protection.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're saying that you can violate a person's rights in a civil case. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Grounds.
It's not like we're laughing at this.
Can I ask for a clarification on the sustained?
It's a ridiculous comic of a trial. It's a heinous murder. But what's going on is what you would see in a movie like Idiocracy 2.0.
I mean, the thing is, the ME takes the stand yesterday and testifies. And when have you ever seen a medical examiner testify in a case where the medical examiner tears up? Like that, that does not happen. Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Awesome. Cool.
Indeed.
Love you.
I want to share my fans. I mean, thank you.
I'm susceptible to flattery, but don't insult others. It can be positive flattery, like Viva's good despite being crazy. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Robert. I didn't see the medical examiner.
The judge gives him 50 minutes to give a motion to dismiss. I sat there and I'm going, this judge, I'm trying to imagine that she is sitting there like white knuckling like 3 or 4 books because he's saying, where's the state? The state's not here. I issue a subpoena. The court didn't allow me to issue the subpoena. He goes on for 50 minutes. The prosecutor cites a case that says the sovereign citizen bullshit is not allowed. He accused the judge of treason for violating his rights. He says that that's treason, goes on, and the judge gives, like, you can hear the strain in the voice where the judge is basically denying the motion to dismiss. And it's just like, I've resolved half of these things before. I'm denying the motions. The judge is quivering, trying to hold herself back from like jumping over the rails at this guy. Holy smokes.
He accused the judge of treason. I hope he's got $1 billion. That's litigation privilege, people, but treason.
Well, I guess if she lets it go on, it would be very hard to overturn whatever verdict comes about if she's because what was it you said, Rob? You talked about how at the end of the day, every day she has like a 2-minute speech saying the defendant did talk to witnesses and ask them questions. Go ahead. I explain that one.
No, I laughed my ass off. I was on Natalie's stream when I first saw it because at the end of the day, they dismiss the jury and the judge goes on because everyone's been saying he's incompetent to stand trial, right? They're saying he's mentally challenged. He's going through mental health issues. He can't stand trial. The judge, at the end of the day, looks at him and goes, for the record, I would like the record to reflect that Mr. Brooks was present, engaged. He had 3 boxes of documents on his desk. The documents seemed to be alphabetized or indexed. He was writing notes. He seemed to have prepared notes for questions and cross-examination of every witnesses. He was literally, the first time I heard the judge do that, I was like, you little shit, like you sneaky son of, but it was great.
but also I think that's maybe that's generally speaking for these kind of pro se cases also, even regardless of the sovereign citizen situation, because anytime you have a judge with a pro se party who's, pro se meaning representing themselves, they're bumbling their way through trial. The judge always has to like walk a very fine line between not giving any advice, not giving any help to them, but also like making sure that they're not just allowing the process to like steamroll them because they clearly have no idea what they're doing. And they're making all these ridiculous arguments that just don't make sense and are not relevant. So I mean, yeah, she's got to get everything on the record anyway, just for those purposes, to make sure that anyone looking at this, assuming he's probably going to appeal, the courts are going to just look at the entire record and say, I don't see where anything was wrong.
It was a question Barnes and I were talking about on Sunday as to whether or not he's, not what's the word, competent to stand trial. And I see both sides of it now, but watching this, it's someone who's insane, even legally insane, could still be legally responsible or legally competent for the acts that they carried out, notwithstanding their underlying mental illness. It's a question
and legally competent to defend themselves, because that was one of the points that was made, and the judge was great about it with the idea of the boxes. The judge says that Mr. Brooks had access to a tablet or a computer in his cell anytime he wanted, which is a courtesy given to him that was not given to any other defendant facing trial. That he had every element of discovery for since the trial was commenced, that the boxes were previously indexed, that he has pre-printed notes on questions to ask each individual witness from the public defender that before they were excused. The idea that he's not capable of putting on his own defense, it might not be the defense you think he deserves or would get from an attorney, but it's the defense that he willingly it's the defense he asked for. He said,
Demanded.
"Come at me, bro."
Demanded.
Yeah.
It's weird though. In my mind, for the flip side argument, if he were truly competent to stand trial, or legally what's the word, responsible for his actions, his defense would then be, I was blacked out, whatever. Like I was in a psychotic episode. I thought I was driving in a video game, something like that. The fact that he's trying to get some sort of successful defense on the merits of what's accused of him would be a strong argument for the fact that he's totally insane and not competent to stand trial. Like, he's going with a sovereign citizen defense that the state's not going to show up, so he's not guilty of murder. That's crazy. He
has a defense that he has been laying out. He's been doing it inartfully. He's been doing it terribly, but he has been trying to lay it out. It's basically, you didn't see whether there was anyone in the back seat. You couldn't identify me as the person in the vehicle. There might have been someone that was in the back seat.
Hold on. So it's a Flying Dutchman defense?
It's a sawed defense.
What's the Flying Dutchman defense?
An empty ship that came into the shore is known as a Flying Dutchman. Usually the entire crew's dead on board or whatever. So it's a very inelegant joke that, okay, so what, a ghost is driving your vehicle? But yeah, Saudi is some other dude did it, right?
I think it's become the Sam Hyde defense, but yeah, pretty much.
What's the Chewbacca defense now? I keep forgetting what that is.
The Chewbacca defense was brought up in South Park, and that was basically a mockery of Jackie, not Jackie Childs. That's from Seinfeld. Who's the guy? Who's the one from the OJ trial? Come on, you guys know. Everyone, the chat's going to know this here. But basically, the concept.
If I think the glove don't fit, you must have quit.
Yeah, who is that?
Jimmy Cochran.
Johnny Cochran.
Johnny Cochran. Right. Thank you. That was it. Johnny Cochran. Right. So in South Park, they did a send up of that, a brilliant send up of that, where they basically he just starts talking about Chewbacca being like a furry animal on this planet, and makes absolutely no sense that how Chewbacca would be there. That makes no sense. You have to ask yourself, why is it that we allow these things that make no sense to go forward? And that's what's happening in this case. Nothing's making sense. So if Chewbacca is on planet Io, you have to say this makes no sense, and you have to acquit. It's like, what? that's what the Chewbacca defense. It's like, let's bring in something completely irrelevant that he can make some illogical argument about, and attach that illogical thought to this case, and therefore say you must defend.
Hold on, Rob shared something with me, I guess, to bring some more lawyers into this.
So this stream is great. So Kurt, our resident constitutional lawyer, he actually found a Supreme Court case that's on point here, and this is a really great little clip from the other night.
Ooh, yeah.
Am I getting copyright struck?
No, you won't.
It's porno music. You're not going to get
yourself in the mind of an attorney, and you want to uphold those kinds of, the principles and the understandings of his rights and his Sixth Amendment rights to face, the witnesses against him,
Not today.
You know, and so you try to keep yourself there, but then there's also the human side who would like nothing more than this guy to run over the defendant's table and knock him senseless.
I think you're forgetting the U.S. Supreme Court case of Get versus Fucked, where this guy doesn't.
Oh my God, Kurt!
He's so good.
Oh,
Kurt.
Kurt! Oh,
From the 3-point line. Damn.
Kurt is as happy as he's ever been after that.
Oh, it was great.
I love
It was
how,
one of the best moments.
but I love how, like, even with that, like, Kurt just maintains his like serious face that he pretty much always has in
I don't think
any
I've
kind
heard of that case.
situation.
It was so perfect because when Kurt starts saying you forget the Supreme Court case, everyone's ears are perking up and they're waiting because you know that his index is like a mile long, and he's like, "You forget the Supreme Court case, Get versus Fucked." And I was like, "Oh my God!"
Oh, that's a perfect summation. Somebody else brought up in the chat, and it's true. Ted Bundy defended himself and did a really good job, from what I understand. It was kind of a crazy case because at the end, the judge was like, sentencing of death, and then saying, "You're a really amazing young man, super impressive with so much talent. I'm, so sad that this happened with you. It just completely crazy all around." But odd that you would have to compare this guy to Ted Bundy.
He's going to avail himself to all of his rights in defense. And is there a death penalty in Wisconsin? There isn't, eh?
No, there's not. No. And the thing is, though, I hate to say it, I feel almost like you're rewarding this guy for his horrible behavior because you know that he's savoring this grandstanding moment in his life. And I don't know. I guess I'm just celebrating the fact that in a week or two, he'll go away into obscurity and can just sit there and rot forever. Everybody can forget about him.
No, he's not. And I've talked about this before. There have been a lot of clips of him where there's at the end of the day, like you see a lot of the grandiose stuff, but at the end of the day, he will have his head in his hands. People have gotten videos of him crying, just frustration that he can't get the information or that people aren't listening to his information. You are watching the self-destruction of somebody in real time. And there's a part of it that's like, you are reaping what you have sowed. But it's still, there's part of it that's kind of painful to watch someone implode on that level. Like I've had a lot of conflicts, like watching a lot of this testimony and a lot of the case.
Yeah, he's abusing of his second chance to, what's the word I'm looking for? Not terrorize, but what's the word when you abuse? For goodness sake. He's taking a second
himself, like
to victimize the system. That I just want to know, why did he do it? He's going to say, I wasn't behind. You don't know that I was behind the wheel.
Whatever level pain it is watching him, it's not sufficiently painful unless there are wood chips under his fingernails while he was enduring it. This man is a deep shade of evil.
Yes.
And
yes.
There's no amount of pain or hell that we can put him through, which would satisfy my hunger for justice against this guy. Terribly evil.
Are there any lighter celebrity stuff going on these days?
Yeah, we can talk about Kevin Spacey.
Well,
Kevin
Twitter.
Spacey, Harvey Weinstein, Danny Masterson are all at trial this week.
Okay, well, hold on. How many witnesses are still alive in the Kevin Spacey?
Both of them, and they're old. Kevin Spacey's case is just really weird in the sense that his accuser is 50-something years old, and another witness of supposedly going on is like 63 years old, 65, and they're talking about like 1981.
So the plaintiff in this case alleges that in 1986 he was at a party in Kevin Spacey's apartment after a show, and that at the party a drunken Kevin Spacey came in, grabbed his behind, lifted him up, and then put him on the bed, pressed himself on him, and fondled him, and then he kind of squirmed away. Now, the thing that is particularly eye-raising about it is the ages of the two people. Anthony Rapp was 14 at the time. Kevin Spacey was 26. So that's like, there's a certain level of inappropriateness if that happened.
Oh,
you know,
sure.
if, assuming that happened, of course.
But 1986?
1986. Yes. And so they have, Anthony Rapp has already gone on the stand. He's been through cross-examination, and there are some inconsistencies that have come up. He's also alleging PTSD. But the expert witness that testified. What's that?
How about repressed memories? Are they there yet?
Oh,
No.
Well, no,
But let me tell you, so he alleges that he has PTSD. They put an expert witness on that diagnosed him, or that says that he has PTSD, and accept that. Let me give you the timeline of when these things happened. 1986, he says that this happened. 2001, he said in some kind of an article, he alluded to being abused by someone, didn't name anyone. 2017, Me Too happens. He makes the allegations against Kevin Spacey publicly in a BuzzFeed article. Now, at the same time, the PTSD, situation is that the forensic psychologist says that he had delayed and latent mild PTSD, and then in 2017 it got triggered, and now he has full-blown PTSD as of 2017, which is when the Me Too movement happened. I personally find that incredibly suspicious.
By the way, I pulled out the calculator. I'm not great at math. Okay, so 1980 whatever, or 86 to now, that's 36 years. Kevin Spacey was in his 20s, so he was 10 years younger than the age of this case when it even happened. And by the way, I'm not saying that nothing was wrong, but if they couldn't find a way to do something about it until now, I kind of just wonder if this isn't a Me Too pile-on.
Well, this is a civil case, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, a statute of limitations is going to be what, typically, I don't know, 3 years. Ordinarily, he'll have to show the impossibility to have acted with.
Well, that's the recurrence of the PTSD. It all of a sudden erases the statute. I bet.
I don't think so. No, it has to be from the cause of action, unless he can show that he was unable to act for whatever the reason. I presume incapacity for psychological reasons he'll have to prove.
So I think that it was the latency of the effects happening, because he's alleging intentional infliction of emotional distress.
Someone says 7 years, whatever it is. It's less than the 30. So from the age the person becomes a major. So as of 18, which would be 86, 90, he'll have, let's just say 10 years. He'll have until 2000. We're still 20 years out of that limit. 22 years out of that limit. They'll have to show the impossibility in fact or in law to have acted within the time frame.
Yeah, I mean, but regardless, the time is an issue for Anthony Rapp as well. I mean, it could be also for Kevin Spacey, because he's going to have memory issues too. I mean, it's been just as long for him as it has been for Rapp, but there's a potential inconsistency coming up in that case, having to do with the size and layout of Kevin Spacey's apartment at the time, because he says that he was in the bedroom in the apartment, but it sounds like the breadcrumbs that have been dropped from Kevin Spacey's side is that this may have been a studio apartment, which could be very important, because if it's a studio apartment, everything's obviously pretty open. There's no space for intimacy. This is a party where there's a bunch of people. So there's potential problems for Anthony Rapp in this case, and he's going for $40 million, by the way.
40 million?
Yeah.
Well, I would not expect his memory to be good after 30 some odd years, but I didn't realize Anthony Rapp was the dean or the assistant dean from Road Trip, a classic movie, which has stood the test of time. Just trying to lighten things up here, people. Wow! Is that I should pull a little Kurt joke next time. Yeah, Anthony Rapp. So yeah.
That's Anthony Rapp.
Yeah, Anthony Rapp was the mean assistant professor in Road Trip. Classic character. One of the funniest in the movie.
All right.
He's saying, "Oh my God, this case."
Yeah, that's the guy who says when he was 14. Now it's terrible. It's terrible, but we're getting to Blasey Ford levels of having waited an extensive period of time.
Isn't there a thing called a statute of limitations, or is
Yeah,
that
there
just,
is.
is that more of a guideline than a law anymore?
No, you have to argue your way out of it. I don't know what the rules are here, but in Quebec, for example, even for things like this, if you were under duress, threatened not to file suit, if you're in a coma, if you were restrained by some external emotional factor, you could then argue that I've waited. I shouldn't be held to it. It starts from the date I became able to take action. If it was a repressed memory, and it's one day when you'll have to make evidence to this. 30 years later, you're like, holy crap! Now I have the memory. You'll have to make evidence, but you have to get past that.
Well, while we're talking about cesspools, how many followers did everybody lose on Twitter today, or over the past 24 hours?
Now that you mention it, not that I care.
Why?
It looks like another purge going on. I'm just curious. I've lost about 100 or so.
I lost 2,000, but I lost 3,000, but it seems to be going back now. I think they're doing a purge and people are resubscribing, but it was in real time when I would refresh, bounce up and down by 500 for no.
That's interesting.
I've only been increasing, which is weird.
Well, it depends, Joe. By the end of the day, we might all still be increasing. We're just have to go. I'm joking. Joe, what are you covering these days? I didn't know the meaning of life, apparently.
Well, we can segue to
I'm actually starting to do like crazy deep research on Pitt versus Jolie. I'm priming my channel for Pitt versus Jolie.
Shit.
That's Joe, talk to me anytime on that, man.
I am basically doing deep dive after deep dive. I'm going to rename my channel Good Pit Logic. I don't know, but what I'm saying
that one's an interesting one too.
Yeah, I'm basically I'm gearing up for Pit. I feel like I need to spend a full year just prepping for this thing. So
you could call it the happy hole, the Jolie Pit. Okay.
Ooh.
What?
Oh, I think that's the happy hole.
Sorry.
Can we spend a moment? Can we spend a moment talking about the transformation from Quebec Viva to Floridian to
Abby Hoffman
to Florida man? Florida man becomes Viva Frei.
You didn't hear him come in backstage. Like he came in hot.
When I saw those two pictures next to each other, like the Canadian version of David Frei looks like from the Gulag. Like it's like he's the black and white picture, frowning. The hair is shorn, like you just came from from like with the other sheep there who all cut off your hair when you went in there, and you're sitting there with like this black and white dead-eyed face to like the happy-go-lucky, thrilled Abby Cat dude in Florida who's sitting there like party on, man. And the thing is this different. I mean, the contrast is so overwhelming.
It took a year to grow the hair. It took a year to grow the hair. So the hair was growing in Canada. And in Canada, you're not allowed smiling on government ID. So they make me take off my glasses and they make me not smile. So I end up looking like any number of words, which I've gotten for the picture on the left. I sent you the link there.
But Viva, that's when you need to work on the art of smizing. Do you know what that is?
When I smize,
when you smile with your eyes.
Clearly
you guys don't watch.
No, he was dead inside.
Any Tyra Banks.
He was dead inside when he was taking those pictures. When he was living in Canada, he was dead inside, and now he's like look at the difference here.
Wait. Oh my god!
So angry.
Oh,
look at that. They make you not smile.
Look at that! Oh my
the
god!
One on the left is like Viva's like, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
No, I'll tell you what. My wife, she went back to Canada for a bit. I miss Canada. She showed me a picture of the lake where I caught those beautiful pike, and it's like a single season environment is confusing. I don't know what month it is now, but watching what's going on, it's not much. The world's going crazy. The only question is where do you have Viva looks like a serial killer. That's what I get.
You look like you seriously look like an advertisement for Florida. This picture is an advertisement for Florida.
I'll send it to DeSantis.
Yeah. You should.
It really is. And I never put together a Florida man, but it won't leave my brain now.
Florida man. Yeah. No. From now on, we're just going to call Viva Florida man.
I'm going to embarrass my father. I got to embarrass my father. I'm live streaming, joking about the Florida man meme because I had never heard about it. I heard the stories, Florida man wrestles a 15-foot out, whatever.
Right.
So I make a joke how I'll become the full Florida man when I wrestle a gator. I've seen some 5-footers. They don't look that dangerous. My mother calls me up during the stream. And so I said, I better just take it. You never know with old people. It could be an emergency. And she says, it's not an emergency. Call me back. I call her back. She's like, your father's worried you're going to go wrestle an alligator. I was like, you guys, I'm joking, but now I kind of want to do it.
You do, don't you? You do. The secret is to use really cold water because apparently they can't move so quickly in cold water. So I've heard. But they say that you should use water that's like 30 degrees. And that because they can't move so quickly. Go get them. Go get Viva. Get him.
I'm just waiting for it to get cold enough that the iguanas fall out of the trees. That's what I'm waiting for. I've got my camera ready.
No, because they actually will bust your windshield. When I lived down in Florida, they fall out of the trees and they become speed bumps and they will hit windshields and that will go straight through a windshield.
Supposedly it's hilarious.
Well, that sounds like an even worse ending than Magnolia, but
wow. All right, well, so let's get into dog grooming. That's where we started before we went on.
You want to talk about that? Can you show in the thumbnail? It's the old Winston, the long-haired Winston. So I was telling Alita's got a female dog, so this doesn't happen with them. But before Winston was groomed, the hair would be long everywhere, and the hair at the end of the weenus, which would accumulate the smegma as the dog sleeps, would get sticky and clump together. So when the dog peed, it would go. And so before we had him groomed, I had to periodically trim that part of the dog. And it was disgusting and gross. So I like the way the dog looked better then. But he doesn't have the clumpy
Florida man shaves his dog's nads. That's basically what the headline is.
When you started to teeter into it, I was like, he's not really gonna do everything. Like we talked about this backstage. He's not really gonna say it.
You didn't get a memo about these shows on Friday? You didn't get the memo?
I have never been on your show on Friday, no, obviously.
Florida man notices smegma. Yeah. It's disgusting. It was disgusting. Yeah. Anyway. So,
oh god. I don't know who dying for you to interview Shannon Burke at Florida Man Radio. He's a fan. Viva? Cool. I don't know. Make it happen.
I got a couple. Oh, I get a sidebar. Absolutely. Okay. Alita, what else? So there was Kevin Spacey's trial is next.
So Danny Masterson and Harvey Weinstein are in the same courthouse in Los Angeles. Criminal cases for both of them, and they are both in jury selection and pretrial motions. So
Danny
I think Weinstein,
Scientology.
Danny Masterson from that '70s show, and The Ranch. He's a Scientologist, so there's a lot of discussion around that case having to do with the role of Scientology. He actually has two cases. There's one criminal case, there's one civil case. The civil case is against him and the Church of Scientology, where they are alleging retaliation kind of claims, because these are the women that have come forward and accused Danny Masterson publicly and going to the police and whatnot. They were excommunicated. Then they alleged that they were considered fair game. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Scientology's fair game practices, but basically they were harassed, they were stalked, their pets were killed, like their families were followed and intimidated and all that kind of stuff. And
Scientology is fascinating. I'm sorry to jump in, but I'm going to pitch my other show where we talked about it. We did 2 episodes on it, America's Untold Stories. Scientology can be so powerful that they fought and won against the IRS. And the way they did that was, I forgot, they had literally, I'm just throwing numbers out there. They're not going to be accurate, but thousands of members personally suing members of the IRS, harassing them at every turn. They got people to infiltrate the government in every position, with jobs. And it got to the point that the IRS commissioner was like, okay, so if we say that you're a religion, this stops. And they said it was a religion. Scientology went scorched earth on Time magazine. They ultimately lost the case, but it was seen as a Pyrrhic victory for Time magazine, and everybody now knows that they will sue you to the ground. And what Alita's talking about, the tactics they use, private investigators, they have everything else. Now keep in mind that the religion, they claim big numbers, but their numbers may actually be in the tens of thousands, maybe total. But they have billions and billions and billions of dollars in real estate. And
I had Aaron Smith Levin from Growing Up in Scientology. He has a channel called Growing Up in Scientology. I had him on my channel to talk about Scientology and the Danny Masterson case. He's been talking about that, and I mean, he talks generally about Scientology, but because he's a Scientologist, Danny Masterson he's been kind of covering that case too. And he had some very, very interesting things to say about all of that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be, I'm hoping to get the head of security, former head of security for Scientology on. And I've talked to John Atack, who has a special page up, and then the wife of the former president of Scientology, or whatever the role is, like, who got shoved to the side by, oh God, I forgot the guy's name, David McCavitt. She reached out to me, so I'm hoping to have her on too. But Scientology, it's a gift.
It's very interesting.
He's on trial. It's funny. I know. I only knew the guy's face from that '70s show. He's on trial for rape.
Yes,
for the R word. We're on YouTube.
Multiple.
Don't get too
and this
grumbly
is
on me
another.
there,
This is another case,
Assault of
by
the
the
sexual
way.
nature.
Yeah. Of an intimate nature. He is. That's another one where the allegations are not recent. Like there's been, it's not quite like Spacey, but it's still quite a long time.
But see, that's where it's
been over a decade.
But that's where I could easily imagine the argument of inability, in fact, to act where they're being harassed. If they were to, they would be
that's
extorted.
their argument.
Okay,
that's the alleged victims. That's their argument against him for why they didn't come forward sooner. Excuse me, is because of the fact that they. And this is why Scientology is going to come into the criminal case, even though obviously Danny Masterson is the defendant, Scientology is not. But that's how it's going to come in, is that is kind of necessary from their perspective to explain why they didn't go to the police sooner, is because they knew they would be excommunicated. They knew that meant having their entire families cut off, because most Scientologists apparently are Scientologists that were born into it. They don't generally have many people converting to Scientology. There's I think, like Eric mentioned earlier, I think there's only around 30,000 worldwide is what Aaron told me. So somebody, generally speaking, who is in Scientology most likely grew up in Scientology. So if somebody's going to be excommunicated, that's all of their friends, that's their family, that's their parents. They're not allowed to see them. And then they may be considered fair game, meaning those tactics could be employed against them. So if somebody makes an accusation to the police that is going outside of the organization, because they say that like everything has to be done in-house, right? Any complaints have to be done in-house.
Oh, look at him.
And if they go outside, they get excommunicated. So that is, if that is true, that's a pretty legitimate reason for why they wouldn't come forward sooner.
See, we're family friendly occasionally, just as long as he has headphones on.
He doesn't hear anything.
I know. I know.
But this might be my cue to go back to parenting. Apparently, I've left the kids alone for how many hours now? I don't know. A little bit. I'll go see what mess is out there. But yeah, probably time to go. People, and now it'll be a perfect square. Y'all saw my acorn from British Columbia?
Beautiful.
Lovely.
It's real. It's real, but it's the size of my head practically. Okay, get out of here. Go.
That's some acorn. Are you sure it's not a pine cone?
I don't know what it is. It's
a pine cone.
No, it's a pine cone, and it was smooth when I got it. Then it expanded as it grew. Okay, but I'm gonna duck out because.
Thank you, Little Rock. By the way,
See you.
It was very good to see you all. Thank you all. And which the Masterson trial is going to be interesting. Criminal versus Spacey civil. None of them are being broadcast in real time, or is Spacey being broadcast?
Spacey, I think, is in federal court. Seen federal court? Spacey?
No, I've seen drawings of Spacey. I think that it's
okay. So then it's not.
Yeah.
Broadcast. All right. And apparently, press.
Inner City Press
Inner City Press
is live tweeting it. So I think it's kind of like
it's gotta be federal court. I'm pretty sure it's federal.
Inner City
Press. How do you say it, Joe? Is it Ghislaine? How do you say the name?
Ghislaine.
Maxwell.
Maxwell.
Oh, you're copying that, dude. I have a clip of you saying that you say it Jizz Lane.
I never said that.
I have a clip. I have
Make sure my
proof there,
earphones
buddy.
are on here.
I have proof of that because Joe, Joe says things.
I don't
As a matter of fact, Joe,
this at all.
This is a good segue. Let's look at what Joe has to say here with Nick Rekieta on a stream about me and this stream.
We don't do this. Eric Hunley has the whole monopoly. I don't know who that son of a bitch thinks he is, that he's got this whole monopoly on getting panels of lawyers together. But we should be doing that on our streams, like way more. Like I
did this way before him. I had the big brain panel before Eric Hunley even existed.
I always love that people think about me.
That predates Rittenhouse.
I know.
That was last summer, and the two of us were drunk out of our minds.
Okay, guys, I'm
leaving. No, you look completely sober.
Have a good afternoon.
You looked absolutely sober to me, Joe.
That's before the NYPD hat. Those are some ancient times. But I credit you as like the godfather of putting together panels of attorneys.
I do. I don't want a title. I don't want any title. I see how that's going. But everybody, Nick was invited. Nick is out of town. He just couldn't make it. Okay. So people are like, where is Nick? Nick has been on these streams when he can. Unfortunately, I have to do them on Fridays, and he likes to schedule chiropractor visits or flying out of town and things like that. So. Yeah. But
I have exciting news, by the way. I have a YouTube partner manager now.
Oh,
that's right. I have arrived. I got an email yesterday. I have my first meeting coming up on Wednesday. I cannot tell you how stoked I am that for the next time I get a strike, I'll be able to have someone to yell at rather than just screaming into the void.
Into the camera.
Scream into the camera to something that I can't upload. And yeah,
still one of the best rants I think I've ever seen. Was
you stupid, moronic, narcissistic client. I knew you were going.
My favorite time.
That was when my chat. Yeah, that was when I had a stream that came down 10 minutes after it went up, because I went after Amber Heard, and her people came after me.
It was at the same time that Runkles went down. That was like a rant like nobody's business.
Yeah.
I think I missed that one. Was that in the midst of your religious talks?
No. That was. I had Andrew Legal Mindset on, and we did a stream, and I was talking about the strategy that her attorneys should be employing for their closing arguments, and what they're not doing, and what would be a far more effective one. So much so that I was like, I'm not afraid of actually providing this as a TED talk for Amber Heard's defense as to what they should do, because I know that she's so insecure that she will never actually take this route. And I went through this whole thing where she basically should have admitted that her story was over embellished because she had so much PTSD. If you were her defense counsel, they should have been making the claim that because she was abused so much by him, that's why her memory is so shaky and out of control, and that little bits and pieces may not be accurate, but that's part of being a victim of being Mrs. Johnny Depp. That would have been a far more effective closing than the nonsense idiocy that Ron Bourne and Elaine Breithoff threw out there. And that was the point that I was making. And the next thing I knew after that stream came down, my channel, the stream ended up getting yeeted, and I went nuts screaming that if they were, instead of fighting against me, they actually would employ the advice I was giving them. Her client may not get screwed up the ass in this verdict. But and I kept repeating the phrase, you're stupid, moronic, narcissistic client. And yeah, Rob was dying of laughter when I went nuts because I was not happy. So.
Well, by the way, Joe occasionally does have passionate rants even on here.
Yes, it does happen from time to time. Once in a while.
Okay, so we're covering Masterson. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. Has anyone looked into, I can't believe, like, names just slip out of my head all the time, but the porn star Ron Jeremy, that one should be coming down pretty soon, right? And do people know he's been locked up for like 3 years? I believe, or a couple of years.
Ron Jeremy?
What was he charged?
I don't know about that case.
I don't either. What was he charged? What's
the normal
what's the claim?
SA, like, thank you, Rob.
Sorry. No, it's a racy. It's racy. I said race.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Race case.
Yeah.
Oh, he does not look good in prison.
Oh no, he's in Batwell too. He doesn't look good in general. They call him a hedgehog.
Okay, you can't just say that. We need pictures now.
I'm pulling it up.
Okay, well, share your screen.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I made the mistake of making Rob co-host, so anything can go wrong on this stream.
Everything can go wrong.
We know that it's either Rob or his stuffed animals on the shelf. But
easy. All right.
Yes, he obviously looks innocent. That picture was well chosen to show that he looks very innocent. Scroll up. There you go.
Oh my gosh.
Hannibal Lecter, anyone? I mean, he looks like Silence of the Lambs, like you're walking by.
Oh God.
But yes, and it's 34 counts, so even more than Marilyn Manson.
Wow.
Where are we going on that? But yeah, I would say I keep talking about Marilyn Manson versus Johnny Depp and how people can imagine Marilyn Manson going worse. I would say that Ron Jeremy, people could probably imagine even more than Marilyn Manson.
This is, he did not age well, and prison has not done him well.
He looks the same as he did 30 years ago, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. He always looked like that.
No.
Yeah, that. See, the thing is, Joe, that does not look like that.
Yeah, that's he's not doing very well, and he's not a young guy. I mean, I forget, is he in his 70s now?
69, they say.
69. So he's 69 going on 85.
He'll probably be perpetually 69. So
it could be. I don't know, but I'm surprised that none of you have heard of that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he's been locked up. Does it tell you when he was actually taken in custody? Because he's been sitting in prison for years now.
I'm trying to find summary article that's good on this.
Oh my God. I didn't even catch it. Of course, the chat. 69. Of course, he's 69.
Oh, cool.
Think about it. Oh my God. Yes. It's horrible. Chat, you're terrible.
It took you a second there, Eric.
Well, I'm sorry, man. I don't
That's okay.
keep up with that one.
Let me see if I've got the case itself. Let me see. Because I can't see if it's going to
let me
this was it was showing up in the sorry.
No.
Let me remove this one.
Oh God.
While I'm looking for this.
He was charged with carrying a concealed weapon. I don't think it's been concealed very much, folks. I really don't think it's been concealed. I think that's unfair. I would say that he's an open carry kind of guy, in my opinion. I mean, at least when the cameras are on, I hear he's an open carry for sure.
There's no updates on this case in the last month. The only reference was he's cited in one of the Danny Masterson articles. I
probably just as another example, because it's LA, and I mean all of these cases, and it makes it very, very difficult because there's the whole Me Too thing. And there are questions if some of them are real and some of them aren't. And you know damn well that some of this stuff is real, that there are really victims out there. There are people who need to be heard. And it gets confusing. I really wish we would all focus on specific cases one at a time, because otherwise we get kind of caught up in a political noise.
Okay, I know. So it's suspended without a new trial date because they're conducting a mental health evaluation to see whether he's mentally fit to stand trial. So there's a mental health evaluation being conducted. Going to be an update at some point in time, but yeah, these cases, the allegations span 16 years.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of mental health, okay, I'm not going to draw a direct comparison. It just made me think of something. Did you guys see the Golden State killer? That guy who they finally caught after all those years with the DNA.
Because of the family DNA, what is it, 23andMe or whatever?
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was something else. But yes, it was
Something similar.
It was people donated, and they used family members to tie it back to him. I think his name is like Dennis something. Well, it's funny because every time he went into court, he looked like Ron Jeremy in those shots, but just even worse, just etc. But then the DA had some footage of him in his cell, and the dude was spry as can be. He was jumping up and down onto his bed, like whoop, and going up on his bed or not, like doing calisthenics in the morning to keep himself in shape. And it was hilarious because he had been coming in with the walker, trying.
Wow.
Yeah, this dude, and yeah, you notice how he looks like. I don't know where I am or what my name is. Rob, while you're looking, find that video because
I'm finding
amazing.
Here's one of the images. Let me see.
And I love that. Oh,
you don't get to see my fantasy football.
Oh yeah, here. Okay, look. Does this not look like this? Just this decrepit, poor old man. Oh, you poor. Yeah, and he was the original Night Stalker. This guy was so far back that they recycled his serial killer name for somebody else. That had to piss him off. But
well, I mean that it reminds me of Weinstein, how all of a sudden his health started declining during the New York trial, and how now it's like continuing to decline apparently, which is entirely possible. It could be that that's legitimately happening, but I always wondered if that was just for trial and for optics, to be like, there's no possible way that I could have abused all of these women. Like I couldn't have, used my physical powers against them. Look how frail I am.
Oh shit.
Yeah, here we go.
Did you find the video? Because I found it too. Like,
all right, bring it up. It's perfect. Yeah. Share it, man. If you already got it, go. This is classic. I'm telling you. So you can see, oh, poor old dude. Oh, he's old, decrepit. He's a mess. All right. So let's see.
Can you hear?
Go full screen on there.
June 1st, just a couple weeks before he pled. He's not a feeble old man, as he portrayed himself to be on June 29.
Oh. So you gonna do air squats?
Oh man!
Just keep watching. But
I hope he starts kickboxing.
Can I recommend this for everyone as we age to help keep ourselves limber, because that's good. That's very good and good for your health.
Mm-hmm.
This is
the next video I'm going to show you.
Oh, it gets better.
It's from June 17th, just 12 days before. And before I play this, I ask you to watch it closely. Watch it for what he does. Watch his flexibility. Watch his dexterity. Watch his mental drive. Think back on the crimes that he committed. Think back about what he did to escape. Think back what he did to shadow the light.
All right, go with the video. Jesus.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh shit!
Damn. Oh damn.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't look like.
Tell me he jumps off of that.
Do a backflip. I want to see a backflip off of that.
How old was he then?
I don't know. I mean, he's in his 60s or 70s or whatever. But the point is that this isn't the same guy in the courtroom. Okay.
Yeah, he was born in 1940. He was born in 1945.
Mr. Totten reminded us a few minutes ago.
Let's see.
75.
To hide
okay, so almost 80.
Blankets over televisions or lights. And so when you look back in time,
so he goes through all this.
He was 45 years ago. As you see.
Hold on, get back. Yeah.
come on.
Come on now, Rob. Fine. This is my co-host here.
And lastly, just a couple weeks ago, as you see on the top there, he's moved to a new cell, I believe, and he's got light once again covered with papers. And this last one is to simply demonstrate to you his mental acuity, his dexterity, his ability to deceive or attempt to deceive the entire world into believing he is a feeble old man.
Going cleaning his cell. So the dexterity and the oh god.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
That poor old man.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. He's so feeble, obviously.
You know what? Good for the DA. That's like you want to make a point.
That's a great catch. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are just snippets.
All right.
Anyway, I don't know why, but it popped in my head, and I didn't know if anybody knew about that. But the Ron Jeremy thing and that, it just is like, yeah, there was a case of a guy who was playing like, woe is me, but maybe not so much.
Wow. Wow. Brilliant catch.
Yeah. And what was funny is I think that they showed it back and forth, and he was just sat there, looking like an old dead lizard. Well, she showed it, but it's like, what do you do when you get caught like that? You are almost more interested in, okay, so what does the psychopath do? How does the psychopath react to that situation? Do they perk up in the courtroom? Do they play possum? How do you respond to that kind of thing? I'll go with Joe.
You have to keep playing possum there. You have to keep playing possum and just basically hope people don't read into it everything that the DA is hoping they will. But you have to just basically hope that people are fixating on the mental image they have you right then and there in the courtroom and not paying too much attention to the video.
I would
Rob,
I would love to see a Spidey analysis of him in that moment, though.
Oh, no kidding. Rob, but you're his lawyer. What do you do? Oh, he had a stroke 2 days ago. No.
I very patiently realize that I can kick this man, that he's not in a wheelchair. And I kind of kick him like he's not a decrepit person. So all of the things that I was holding back on doing to him, like smacking him upside the head, I'm now doing. And then scrambling to find any actual medical documentation that might substantiate any argument that he's competent. Other than that, I'm saying deuces, I'm out.
Yeah, you're right. I would love to see Spidey's assessment. I mean, I don't know what there is to assess other than he's obviously a liar. He obviously is fetish to clean. I mean, everything was, very OCD immaculate in terms of even the way he laid out on the light. He's worried about the floor.
You know what, Eric? Just, let's, this will be yours and my surprise for next Thursday. We will now know the difference, and maybe we'll get him testifying or walking in and giving all that. And then we can spring a joke on Spidey and show him jumping around the cell.
Okay. Yeah, good idea. By the way, Galby, those videos are 2 years old, but they were referencing 2 weeks prior. So they are concurrent with the time period.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's falling apart or he's in great shape now. I'm just pointing it out as an example of that time. And I think it was perfectly fair that, this is last week, folks. Or this is 12 days ago or whatever. She was very clear when she described this is this date before this time, this date before that time, blah, blah, blah. So I get it. That it's older videos. And I'm happy to say I believe he's still locked up forever and ever and ever.
So,
what was it? I think. Oh, that's right. Because he pled out the guilty. And in order to do it, he had to, state every single case. And I think it took well over 8 hours for him to get through everything. It was like one of those where just talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, just goes on and on and on and on. And has anyone seen BTK while we're having a fun time?
No.
BTK, when he pled out his case, the guilty, it is stunningly creepy to watch. Just his describing, I broke into the room, I took out the and you're just very flatly, matter of fact, kind of like, I went to the mailbox, I was looking for my pension check, I saw there was a check there, I went back to the house, I decided to order some food. He had about the same amount of emphasis on it, and you could kind of see that he was enjoying telling everyone every little bit that he did and just describing it in the coldest fashion. It was very, very scary. His flat affect. Oh, you found it?
No, not his plea deal, just the facts of what he did.
Oh no, he's not the guy. I mean, this guy is a crazy case because he literally stopped for years and apparently got tired of people not thinking about him, so he started to write taunting letters to the FBI after being dormant for a really, really long time. And he's a weirdo in the sense that he's married, he has kids, I think he was a deacon, a big community member, all that stuff. So he was unusual in a lot of respects. But
I mean, not just years. You had from 1974, pause 3 years, then he does 2, and then pause from 1977 until 1985.
Yes. And then another huge pause until he's finally caught, like in the late
91.
Yeah. And the only reason he was caught was because he was using the church's stationery when he was writing to the FBI or their typewriter or whatever. And they finally figured it out. And he obviously seemed to want to get caught. Dennis Rader, if anybody wants to look him up, crazy guy. I don't know why we got segued into serial killer chat, but I blame Rob.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Probably was.
You have to reassess your whole co-host decisions. You have to start reassessing your whole co-host decisions.
Joe, the grip.
I know. I try to keep things entertaining, but sometimes you go for excitement and it becomes danger. Don't know what else to do. So okay, so what cases are there that we can go out on?
Well, I've got. I'm gonna do a recap of what's the name? Brooks tonight, and then Depp v. Heard. We've covered some of that. I'm going to cover it tonight.
What happened?
I don't know what else is going on right now.
There's a new thing now with respect to the appeal that was just filed this week, right?
The assignments of error. But the problem is that it's not so much the assignments of error. It's that when they were filed, you're seeing a lot of media starting to say they're giving their arguments for these different assignments of error before we've actually seen what the case is going to be argued.
Can you clarify for the audience what assignments of error means in this context?
Assignments of error is basically a one sentence assertion as to how the trial court got something wrong. For example, wrong courtroom or forum nonconvenience. It's a statement that says, I think that this was wrong. That's all it says. It doesn't say why that was wrong. It doesn't give any justification. It doesn't say what the trial court actually did that they're alleging was wrong. Mm-hmm. So you had mainstream media, you had Vanity Fair being one of them. Then you had other people jumping on top of it that basically they saw this and they said, look, this is the brief. And this is what says everything the trial court did wrong. No, that's absolutely not what the hell this is. You're getting people whipped up into a frenzy. Like, chill out and wait. And
what's the purpose? What's the purpose of the assignment of error? To apprise the court as to where they're ultimately going in their brief?
Yeah, you have to notify. So the purpose of it is to notify the Court of Appeals and to give the other side the opportunity to object to the assignment or the error because you didn't preserve the issue. If you didn't make the objection or make the preservation on the record, then you actually don't get to raise that in your brief. So it points to the other side so that they can jump in and say, you can't raise this issue. It also gives the other side an understanding of where you're going so they can start doing their research.
This is a procedural thing which is relatively unique to Virginia, as far as I know. I've never heard of this assignment of error thing happening. In
No,
other
it
jurisdictions.
happens in several jurisdictions. I talked to Emily about.
I haven't
it
seen it in New York. I'll tell you, in any appeals I've done, I've never heard of this whole assignment of error thing, which is why we would just simply, you file your notice of appeal and you give an overall where you're going with it, but that's in the first 30 days after when you're filing your appeal. That wouldn't be so close to when the brief is being filed. The briefs are due like within the next month, right?
November 2nd.
Yeah, that's very soon. It's a very strange thing to me that you guys have that so close to the perfecting of the appeal. But,
okay, but Murdoch's coming up too. I think
January 30th.
But that reminded me, we covered this a couple of weeks ago on the Thursday stream, and I'd love to get everybody's thoughts a little bit because it keeps going on. That poker cheating scandal.
Oh my God. I made the mistake of no, it's not.
There is since Thursday. It's a wild thing though. Okay. And I just sort of want to put it out there because everybody wants to, go nuts. And I think it's almost a human study in reactions and what people are reading into stuff. And what I mean by this is there are people who want to come out and say, she cheated, damn it. She cheated, cheater, blah, 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 blah. And they're like coming into it from that conclusion. Then other people are saying, no. And you can kind of get a weird tone on this. But
how did the cheat allegedly happen?
Wait, hang on. Before you get to how they cheated, I made the horrible mistake of getting on TikTok the other day. And I didn't realize that people were doing videos of the cheating scandal, the chess cheating scandal, but taking the context of other ones. Oh. And it was like videos of like me.
I'm aware of the chess cheating scandal with Magnus Carlsen and Neiman, right? There's the guys.
No. Similar arguments, like me going into my math test and the person's taking their math test and they're looking at a question. Huh. Oh.
Right. I don't, but she didn't have that implement. There is a question about a quote unquote vibrating device, but they're saying a full chair on some, which is weird. It's like somebody might pick that up, or her ring, which I don't think has enough firepower or enough strength to do it. But bottom line, Joe, if you're not familiar with it, I'll try to sum it up. I am not a poker player, but this poker player, she's also an Instagram model, and I do think that factors into it. Who uses her assets while playing in strategic fashions. But, and that's not criticism, it's just reality. She played a hand against a very highly regarded poker player, like someone his name is Garrett Adelson, or I forgot his name, but it's Garrett something. And apparently he is one of the best poker players out there. Very, very well-respected professional. Okay. And the hand that she played, no respectable professional would ever play. They would have folded on the hand, right? The way the cards flopped. However, she actually won the hand. And this is where the tweeting, yeah, why not? Well, we'll throw Twitter into the mix. It's toxic. Anyway, that's where the cheating allegations came in, was the fact that the hand that she played, which was, I believe, a Jack 4 combo, with ultimately her winning everything with a Jack high, that no respectable player in the world, or it could be Jackie, I don't remember, but anyway, nobody would ever play that hand because there's just too many ways, even on a bluff, that he would have beat her.
Oh, so in other words, the allegations that she knew his cards because of the peak thing?
Correct. The allegation is that she got a buzz that she did have the hand, and it could be like a ring. People were talking about how her chair was vibrating behind her, like right before she had made a decision. And keep in mind that the pot was, I think, over $200,000 because he went, quote, all in, and then she called him with her entire pot. So it was a ton of money, and it got very controversial now. I know it's probably not a ton of money for high stakes poker people, but it's a lot of money to me. We're talking mortgages being bet here. Anyway, so everybody's gone back and forth on it about whether it's cheating or not. Not to bury the lead, Spidey doesn't believe she did. I don't believe she did. I brought on a poker guy who wrote the books, Reading Poker Tells, multiple books. He did not think she did. We think that she's kind of new to the scene and that particular game, and it was kind of a beginner thing. Or somebody else pointed it out really neat in the comments. They said that she has the problem that professionals have with semi-pros, where she's better than an amateur because an amateur is just all over the place. They're crazy. But a semi-pro will play pretty professionally, but they'll make oddball moves because there's still a little bit amateur in them that you wouldn't expect, or there may be a little bit of more emotion. And that's sort of the way we leaned, was like she felt like he was bluffing her and she was just going to call him on it, even though it was unreasonable to call him on that with what she did. So she didn't play like a professional. She played slightly emotionally. She happened to win. There's the allegations, but it gets worse. So it all would be just back and forth right there, back and forth right there. But she made the mistake of, because I think it's a mistake, of afterward they had a confrontation on the side. She gave him his money back. So people said, right, well, people automatically said that she's guilty because she gave this money back.
Yes.
Yes. But that doesn't mean that she's necessarily guilty. That's people projecting into her.
No.
That. Oh, so
no.
Joe's already decided.
Joe, are you saying you haven't seen any of this case?
I haven't seen any of this case, and I'm telling
do you
you
want
right
me
now.
to? Do you want me to see if I can get you interested in the case?
Oh, I'm already very, very interested in this case because the psychological admissions.
We're not saying anything, and we're not implying anything whatsoever.
Well, those are some very big glasses she's wearing. So
yes.
Yes, I get to be juvenile and immature sometimes too.
What I'm saying is, people don't give back money that they legitimately want. They just don't. They do not. They don't. They never do. Because why would you? Why would you? That think about what's going through your head when you're giving that money back. It's that people think I cheated, so I'm going to assuage them by giving the money back here.
I completely disagree.
Or
she took a
it
lie
could
detector
be-
test.
You could have disagreed. That's fine.
Hang
You're
on,
just wrong.
hang on. It just to give a different perspective, she could be giving it back because she felt like she didn't hang on, give me a second. Let me put my words in order here in my brain. So she may have been mistaken about her cards is one of the theories. So she may have thought that she had one hand and then realized halfway through, oh crap, I actually have a much better one than what I anticipated, or I have a different one than I anticipated than the one that she won with. So she may have felt that her winnings on there were not legitimate anyway. And like, I didn't really earn this and then giving it back. That's one
Eric,
possibility.
have you seen this yet?
I have not, but hold on. Don't show me that yet. But bury that for a minute. Okay. We'll look at it together. Okay. I'm gonna point out holes in Joe's logic here really quickly. You are assuming somebody has a conscience and is going to give it back. A cheater is a cheater, and they are about getting the money and the gold. There is no reason that a cheater would ever feel compelled to give the money back. The only way they would consider it is if they were in fact arrested or there was something else going on.
Wrong.
It actually doesn't make sense in that regard.
Wrong. I'll tell you why you're wrong. I'll tell you why you're mistaken.
Go ahead.
Because they feel that if they give it back, they show I never really cared about the money, and that's why you should believe me that I wasn't cheating. That's the psychology behind it. If I give the money back, I show I never cared about the money. If I don't care about the money, why would I be a cheat? It's their way of trying to establish that they must not be a cheater, because if they were cheating, then they never would give the money back. That's the reason that they offer the money back.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree again. And then there's also facts in the case you don't know. Like, one, it wasn't even her money. Somebody else's money that you won. Two, her she was 50% staked, so it wasn't her money either.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it. And three, if you're in a group, I can give you a very good reason that you do it. I want to keep playing with this group. I have all these problems from these people. I'm singled out and I have issues. I am just going to do it. I got lucky on a hand. I want this shit to go away, if you will. And so she's giving it back. And I do think that a cheater is smart enough, because cheating usually has some cunning involved. You're going to go through all these hoops to go ahead and pull the cheat out. The only way to get people like Joe to say, yeah, no, you're a cheater, trying to get the money back, she's a cheater. It doesn't make sense going the other way. And I'll have to have Spidey on and try to get you on too, Joe, because this will be a fun debate on that one, because the psychology and everything else works against you on it. But either way, we can agree to disagree, which is awesome. It goes further because people, while they've been investigating, they found out that one of the employees of the casino pulled $15,000 worth of chips off of her stack. And they got busted. Okay, so now this is what people are using to say that, oh yeah, she definitely cheated because they're saying that this employee was being paid by her, with her allowing him to get $15,000 because she refused to press charges against him. Problem with the logic is that would be stupid.
How would she press charges against that? Doesn't make sense.
Because it was her. She has chips on the table. He took $15,000. She can press charges for stealing.
Okay.
So, but she didn't, and claimed that the cop said, "Hey, this is the first offense and all this." She got her money. She was like, "I just don't want anything to do with it," because it's coming out of this whole deal. Then they were saying, "No, this guy's got a record," and so I think she did press charges. So people are just, whatever happens, she's a cheater, and we're going to do it. Now, here's the problem I have with that guy.
Look, I don't know that she cheated. I'm just telling you now that to my mind, and I'll go through with this with Spidey. To my mind,
I understand.
Only so that it's bizarre.
Well, the whole thing's bizarre, and that's why I'm continuing the case though, because it's weird. Like the employee. Okay, this guy took the $15,000 out of her stack. Now, I think that this guy, because apparently when they were asking around, in LA, they don't really check on people and chips. And I guess he had been cashing out 20,000 chips here and there at different casinos for a little bit of time. And they called it like running the chips or something. Like there was a term for it, and you can't do it in Vegas, but I guess it's easier to do in LA. So I think that this guy was running a scam himself, that he was just pilfering chips off of, pots. And would not have been noticed except for the whole cheating scandal happened to be there. And then when they were investigating, they were like watching the tape and said, "Hey, what's going on here?"
Right.
Because it doesn't make sense. So I'm asking all of you.
You mean he stuck his hand in the cookie jar just at a very poor time for him?
That is my opinion. And I'm asking you, if you are going to cheat, I'm going to ask all three of you, and you are going to get somebody who's an employee as an accomplice, because yes, he probably could see the whole cards of other people if he's walking around in the right manner. Would you pay this person by saying, just go ahead and take the chips off my stack? Or would you maybe meet up with him later or find a way to funnel the money to him, not at the table and at the time that could draw some sort of attention? Because keep in mind, if he's doing the stack and he gets caught, he'll be like, she told me. That doesn't make sense.
I agree with you on that.
I think especially, especially because it's like, clearly you guys saw the photo of her. Clearly she was dressed the way that she was dressed because of strategy, I think. And so somebody who thinks about those kind of details is thinking about who's noticing what, who's looking at what. That seems like a dumb move for someone who has that level of attention to detail.
But of course, because she didn't press charges and people are saying, see, it's proof.
No, I don't think that's proof. I don't think that's proof. But I do think I'll still stand behind what I said, that offering the money back is a confession. It's a psychological confession. But as far as this whole side thing with the other guy, you're right. That doesn't make sense. You wouldn't do it that way.
Okay, now go ahead and bring up what you found, Rob.
Okay, I was going to say, do we want to?
No, bring it up. Now I'm going to qualify that I don't believe in them, but
I know that there are ways to fool them. So she posted this on her Twitter 13 hours ago, apparently. So you're seeing this for the first time, real time. I just had a chance to read a little bit. Lie detector test. I know it is what it is. There's case number signed, yada yada. She was referred by her PR company, so take that with a grain of salt to determine the veracity of her truth. Blah blah blah. So it's kind of paid for lie detection test. Consent form does the pre-screening interview, and then computerized, and then in precision is computerized in person.
Questions, good.
Yeah, they gave you. Yeah,
That's not a normal thing to do either. This
no,
is trying-
they have to
trying
give you
so
the
hard.
questions.
No, I'm saying the whole lie detector test. This is not a normal thing that innocent people tend to do.
Correct,
Like,
but the questions are good.
Come on now, Joe. That's really what the hell is she supposed to do? I'm sure that people,
I'm
because how
saying
many
is-
times do you have that?
She sticks to her guns and basically says, "I didn't cheat. The money is mine. Go to hell. Stop being a sore loser and a baby." That's what you do when you really won. I read you. I beat you. Own it. Live with it. That's what you do when you really won.
Well, that's what you want to do.
No,
But
that's
I
what
can see
that's what
somebody else
people
being
do.
look, how many people are going to say, "Oh, I'm going to take a lie detector test"? And I can't tell you this. What number one, I don't believe in polygraphs. And yes, I had the person on who testified in Congress proving that they should not be used in courts, et cetera, even though CIA and everybody else is using them. That's another story.
Hillary Clinton is famous for laughing that she'll never trust a lie detector test after her own client managed to pass one.
Yes.
When he had assaulted in the most violent way possible a minor, and he knew that she had done it, and then he passed the lie detector test. And
Okay.
She laughed, she giggled, saying, "That's why."
There are ways to
I'm gonna
manipulate them.
believe
Yeah.
it. Very
Okay.
good. Yeah.
But let's be honest. How many people say, "I didn't do it. You can give me a lie detector test. You can do anything you want, blah, 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 blah," but they never show up?
Sure.
The vast majority. So I know.
And not only that,
and
but
let's talk about Chris Watts. He was taking the polygraph test. He rolled over during the polygraph test.
I did it.
I mean, she does. She goes so far as to put out the credentials of the person who conducted the poly. Like, so she's not burying the lead. She's not. So I don't really trust polys, but
I do trust an attitude of somebody who's saying, "What do you want me to do?" And that's what I'm asking. You know, because Joe's convinced he doesn't even know the case. He's already said, "Oh, she's a liar."
No, what I'm saying
irrelevant.
is that's way more sus than anything I can possibly. I can't describe how sus that comes across to me. That I can't give you enough levels of susness to it. That's basically what.
But
that means she didn't know.
And tradition. And I never would have, and I thought it was a dumb mistake to do. She should have said, "Piss off," and walked away.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that? Why isn't she showing how innocent she is? But this is what's funny to me. You're disagreeing with me while on your gut level you actually agree with me.
No, I'm saying
on,
it's a
though.
mistake
Let me
to
ask
do because of people like you will come across the
let
same.
me ask some questions here. So she's a relative newbie in the pro arena, right?
Mhm.
here.
And then the guy that she's up against has
One of the
been
top in the
around.
field.
So there could also be a stature issue here. There could also be an intimidation issue
There's a
here.
huge
There
stature
could
issue.
100%
Yeah.
be like, this reputation is going to follow me. He's going to be dogging me forever. If he doesn't drop it, this is gonna, like that's something that could 100% be on her mind. Just say, you know what? I know I'm right, but here you go.
Do you ever want to play in this town again?
That was my read on it. Like when she went and gave the money back, that was how I took it. And you had to see the dynamic. Like Joe, if you watch the dynamic play out at the table, there's a lot of aggression going on.
That you know what, and that's a fair point. I really would love to watch it in context to make a definitive a definitive statement. I'm just saying the way you described it sounds sus AF. But I will tell you that I guess in theory, if I watched it and how the whole thing played out, that definitely could in theory impact my perspective on it. So I'll give that level of. I would love to watch it. Do you guys have a clip of it?
I might be able to pull something up here if you bear with me for a second. Possibly I could have it queued up from a previous show. Yeah, I'm not going to play the entire thing, but you can get an idea of the hand, the room vibe, stuff like that, which I think is all relevant when watching this. Okay, show on the screen. Here we go. This is the guy here, Garrett, who is $816,000 on hand to play. He is the big dog, and I'm not exaggerating. When you hear the announcers talking about him, I think you'll get a vibe of exactly how big and impressive this guy is to the community.
Okay.
Good God, yeah.
The guy next to him is actually bigger.
One of his
That's
first
Phil
ones,
Ivey,
that was
right?
before he won all the tournaments and yeah.
No. Wow, Robbie really mixing it up here, calling Garrett's raise with Jack 4 off.
Okay, this, the way the hand is going, you know, they do an ante apparently, and she actually had put more money in the pot before the hand even started. So it starts off with like a $2,000 ante type of thing, but you can carry over money from the other pot. I think it's called straddling. I don't know the terms. I'm catching up, but so that's when she's talking.
You know
about
a heck of a
the
lot more of
raising.
those terms than I do.
Well, this is like
it's
just
strange. It's strange to even stay in there with the Jack 4, but
yeah, that's
8-7 is much stronger. You can even tell from the odds that they're giving here, because when you have suited connectors, that's actually something that
I know, and then you've got a possible flush if you look at the pot, because
but that's what they mean by suited
and a straight
connectors.
flush. Yes,
yeah, that's what they mean by suited connectors. You have two in a row, which basically makes that much more likely you're going to get a straight, and you also have the same suit, so you're increasing your odds that you're going to have a flush. It's considered much stronger than a Jack 4.
I get that, but you also do know that, you know, she knows
Also.
what's in her hand, and she knows he's not going to get the high Jack for sure, so that the flush is not going to go that direction. But anyway,
Okay. Let's watch the flop
gonna
here.
go.
So the flop comes out 10-10-9.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Blind versus blind. And
He's very excited by
Garrett
that flop.
here has flopped a straight flush draw, 10-10-9 with a couple clubs. He's gonna bet 2,500. Wow, and Robbie's gonna call here with Jack 4 with the Jack of clubs.
It's a pretty quick call.
Turn is a 3, puts backdoor hearts down. And this is usually when Garrett will lay the hammer down with combo draws. He's going to bet 10,000. I think Robbie should have probably been out of this hand pre-flop.
And by the way, Joe, I want to point something out too that you don't know. The very previous hand, right before this one, she had a Jack 3. So there is some possible relevance to that. That's why I'm just pointing it out.
Okay. You're saying she's a loose cannon.
She's got one club and one heart. And
no, I'm saying that even
no
though
recollection, she could have thought that she still
had a Jack 3 in her hand. And this happens. Sometimes you're looking at something, you have something locked in your brain and you don't.
So you think
professionals even said it. Poker coaches came out and said that they have had hands knowing that they had the hands, they put the cards down, they said, oh shit. So, I mean, I'm just pointing out for the previous hand, and there's something that she says. So just go and watch
a three here is very, very, very weak. A 3 is very weak.
I know that, but
even though it would have,
she got a pair.
But
no, I understand. But you have 2 10s out there. You have a 9. She also should be aware of the fact that there is a possible straight and flush draws, which he happens to have both. She doesn't know that. But I'm saying, or you could have pocket. You could have a pocket pair also that's higher than the 10s. But whatever it is, a 3 here, it's something. But it's really not anything that would inspire. That tends to inspire a poker player to say, okay, I'm gonna bet on this 3 carrying the day for me.
I understand that. It is just still a relevant piece of knowledge.
No, you're right. You're right. It is a relevant piece.
And wow, look at this. What is she thinking about here? She gonna raise it. Well, we saw her raise Ace King a little bit ago for a min raise. Here she's gonna min click Jack 4, and you know Garrett is just so experienced.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me scratch my face. That's the shit I got.
How often would she do this with the 10? Could he possibly bet 3-bet here? I mean, she just min clicked the turn.
Balls are raised.
She min clicked. So somebody with the knowledge should have probably gone higher on the raise there rather than a min, because they knew they were going to win. Just pointing that out.
Well, she could be trying to get him to bite. But honestly, in this situation, she probably wouldn't want to. You want to know something? I will say this. You're right. It's an inexperienced, weird move for a poker player to do this here, because what does she want from him at this point? He just bet. Now she's raising by the minimum amount. She knows he's almost certainly going to call that. Does she really believe Would anyone really believe that she right now is in a power position that she's going to win this hand at this juncture? She has to be terrified about if she knows his cards. But let's assume she's cheating and she knows his cards for a second. In that case, she has to be terrified that he actually is going to hit a club on the river or a 6, and that she's gonna or a jack. In which case, any of those, and she's effed. So this is, I will agree with you, this is a stupid bet made by an amateur, which is actually an argument in favor of her not cheating, that she's basically playing like a rookie, because this is the minimum bet there is ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
If he calls, there'd be about 2 pot size bets left. So, I mean, that's what's got to be going through his head here. I think he's considering bet 3 betting, and yep, there's the all in. There's the all in. Garrett, like I said, he's just so experienced in bet patterns, bet sizing.
You hear that adoration? Garrett, he's so experienced. He's so you could just feel it. This guy has quite the rep.
Mm-hmm. And it's a crazy call for her. It really is crazy. Even at this point, there's so many outs he has.
Mm-hmm.
He has right now, you consider this, okay? There's 9 more clubs out there. Any of them pop up, he wins. That's 9 cards he wins on right away that he knows that she's almost, unless she has a full house, which he's not reading her as having full house when she's doing minimum bet raising. In other words, if she had 10-3, and so he knows that she almost certainly doesn't have a full house here. So now he has 9 clubs that he can get, or he can get a jack, or he can get a 6. Which there's 8 of those left as far as he knows. He doesn't know she has a jack. So that's raised 17 cards. And what he also doesn't know is that if he hits an 8 or a 7, which is another 6 cards out there, so that he wins on those also. There's basically half the deck. Deck
Great point. If she knew that he
wins.
had those 2 clubs, there's no way she would go forward because odds are 2 in his favor of getting them.
Yeah,
good point.
Yeah.
The only way it works is if she doesn't know what the hell is in his hand.
Yeah, and I'm trying to be fair here. I'm trying to be
fair.
No,
I agree with you, Joe. Yeah. Good point.
I did a little bit with Jack 8 of diamonds from a few rounds ago. Just gonna put a time chip out.
Another thing in her favor. Well, if you know what's going on, why do you need to go with the time?
I was going to say that. Well,
why do you stall?
Well, it's 53-47. The percentages there are telling you what the chances are that he's going to win on the river here. So, even if she knows even if she has someone with a TV camera that's giving her a feed of everything that she's seeing here, she still might be thinking like, oh, that's a lot of money to bet on a flip of a coin. It's pretty close to a flip of a coin, 53-47.
Sure.
She said that she thought Garrett had a draw about 20 minutes ago, and Garrett had the full house, the queen 4 against jack 8, and she took some time with it, and then she said,
I just want to call to see it. I think he might have me though. 3's no good? This is why you shouldn't be in hands like this.
she doesn't have a 3, so
You want me to call you?
I don't know what she's thinking about here, because she loses to some bluffs like king, queen, jack types of things too. She calls?
Or once, but it's up to you. Yikes.
Oh my God. What is
By the way, body language 101 there. This is a guy who knows he just got caught bluffing.
But he's not even. You know what? Everyone's saying he's bluffing. He's not bluffing. He actually is the leader.
No, he's semi bluffing. He's semi bluffing technically.
He's banking on something good coming on the river, and there are a lot of outs that he can get that can come on the river. Like I said, I can't.
Right, but the pros and he himself called it a semi bluff.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Because that's true, because he doesn't technically have anything right now. So
what's going on here?
Once, but it's up to you.
Is it possible that her hand might be misread in the card graphics or something?
because I have a shitty hand.
You do? Yikes.
I think she's trying to read his pace here on how
No.
so I think she's
No,
doing
I
it.
just thought this is a pure bluff catcher. I'm doing it.
With Jack high?
But
The weird thing about this is that she doesn't even know that he doesn't have an ace, which would beat her right here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, she, as far as she knows, he could have an ace, and that
Or queen.
Yeah, ace, king, queen beats her here.
Yes.
The more I'm watching this, the more I just think she's a lucky rookie. I'm actually starting to sway back.
Told you the video gives you context, doesn't it? Like
It does. I'm telling you, because this is just so stupid. It's such a stupid bet. Because right here and now, it's a stupid bet for her to take, and she's clearly about to take it, and I think she just got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking. The more I watch this.
yes, and the chat's very observant as to how she's trying to get him
The
distracted.
river is a 9.
That one's you for sure.
They're gonna run it
Unless you have, like, pocket
twice,
five
and
or something.
she's
You have,
gonna.
like, small pair?
you give me that much credit?
I don't know.
How did you see what
Why did he say small pair to her? Oh, I'm sorry.
She's good with the first one.
Let's turn him over. You're no.
If the cards are correct.
What a sick call.
And the river bricks out again.
It goes down the river twice. Wow.
I want to see. Does she have Jack 4?
That's the funny part too, is they're questioning whether the RFID was broken. Because they're like, is she really betting with that? Because all the pros are like, this is completely nuts.
Yeah.
It was such a dumb hand to bet with.
Jack high?
What?
Whoa!
Look at Whoa, look at Garrett's face. That is
Analyzing, processing what is happening.
that is super, super strange. You can see his reaction. Like, what?
Ma'am? Very nice to you. Fucking stupid. That's what
The guy talking to her, standing up there, I believe is the guy who staked her.
You look like you want to kill me. I mean, not Jacob. I mean, like, you look like you want to kill me, Derek.
He wants to vomit. I was not in the hand. I want to vomit.
Wow.
Yeah, he doesn't know what the hell's happening. He looks so. He's like,
I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I mean, usually Garrett would be fairly congratulatory if somebody made a hero call like that, but he seems somewhat disturbed here by what just
This makes the
happened.
gods of
I know.
poker very angry.
It's testing.
It's literally like the sort of most disturbed look that I've ever seen Garrett give.
Menacing is more like
10,000 win rate, 20.
I think he's trying to process why the
And
hell she
obviously the
called.
reason why he
called
did
that.
is how can
It's
she
a bizarre
call?
call to make.
I remember.
Like maybe he
It's
thinks
such
that
a
she
bizarre call,
she's-
and it worked out. It's
Yeah,
such a bizarre
he
call.
keeps he escalates though, and that's the thing, Joe, is
He says something to her.
oh yeah, they get called aside,
Uh-huh.
they're screaming. No, this escalates a lot, and keep in mind he's got the status and everything going on.
I think he's being on that. The more I think about it, the more I look at this, the more I think he's being a sore loser. Because there's no way she could have known what that river was going to be. And there was so many, he should have won on the river. There's so many outs he had. He should have won on the river.
Let me see if we
We did
can
that
see.
for Andy. Why we did that for Andy last night? She did that for me.
I'm commuting this. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what's going on right now.
Yep.
That was the most insane poker hand I've ever
Andy,
seen.
That's not a poker hand.
That wasn't. I played you and not the hand. What's the problem? I played you.
See, she is saying that,
So
Joe.
don't let me play you.
Well, just don't let her play you.
That's a weird thing to say.
Is it? She thought,
No.
as a beginner, she thought he was bluffing.
Yeah.
She knew he was
Yeah.
bluffing, and she said, "Screw it, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him on this one." That
Even
would
if it
actually
was-
make
even
sense.
if it was a gut, even if it was the gut hero call, like because she's young enough. Maybe she's new enough that but the announcers did say that she has gotten burned before in the past on those.
By him 20 minutes prior.
I mean, I don't know if that's a function of that she thought she could call.
I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah.
The reason why this is, of course, so strange is that
It's because you have to ask yourself, what is she thinking he has when he's making this bet? What does she think he has? It's like what? Why is he betting 200,000? Like that she's. What does she think he has that she has a stronger hand? That's what's such a bizarre thing about this whole thing. Like you're playing him. So what are you assuming? He has a 2-4? Like what are you assuming he has already? That's worse than your crap. That's what's so weird about all this. But I do think.
Let's see if I can get to that part where he things start to escalate.
I don't know what's going on. Did she just pick up?
And they left the table. Confrontations are happening. You can see this is like
She took a rack of chips over there.
What the fuck is going on?
There's Garrett.
There's nothing to talk about.
Where are they on the screen?
And
They're
looks
off
like
by the
Garrett
bar.
talking over there.
Okay.
this is the guy who staked her, who's getting up with the cowboy hat. His name's Rip. Very, very rich guy.
Check. Heads up. Check.
This stuff is so fascinating to me. I could watch this stuff all day.
Not many people do, and this stream's 10 hours, so go to town. God.
I'm gonna bet the winner.
Why?
1,000.
Fucking hate you. That does nothing for me.
Obviously, I have it.
While we're looking at this, we got super chats. Oh, yeah. Floppy disks. Okay, thank you. And that's what I was saying to you, Joe. Aaron's pointing out cheaters having lower moral compass.
Oh, that's.
She beat him fairly, then castrated him by handing the pot to him. She outclassed him. See, that's the thing too. Women feel very differently about this, Joe, than you do, and I think that's important perspective-wise.
Why?
Because
I don't care about her boobs or the fact that it's a woman. I care about
No. Her
interactions.
reasoning.
Her interactions with society as a woman are different than yours or mine as a male.
Yeah, and handling that kind of confrontation too.
I mean, Joe,
In
you've
that
been
kind of a
pretty
league.
clear on that. Even I don't think you're against Jordan Peterson. He's pretty clear about that, about agreeableness and different things like that.
Yeah.
So that's a perspective thing, different life experiences.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And then here's a question of the panel: would you treat another man the way he treated her? There are some claims that he was really threatening her a lot that I believe she made. I don't have them, so I'm not going to state them.
I think if she was a man, he would have pulled out a gun.
I actually thought that too, that it could have been fists if it was a man.
Yeah, if it was a man, I think it would have been way worse.
Well, here comes Garrett.
What the hell? Did he really get that back? Fucking Garrett's a deep sea fisherman. How do you do this?
What did she give the money back to Garrett? Is that what they were talking about?
Good. You can hear him cursing.
Yeah, the Rip is not happy. Listen when he comes back.
What is that? That's Rip out there with the hat. What is he doing out there?
He's
He
yelling.
seems heated about
Yeah, if I
something.
was taking, I'd be furious.
Well, she definitely gave the money back. I saw it, but like,
It's like I'd be like, it's not your freaking money to get back.
Gave him $150.
What? What is going on? That's Rip.
yeah, I would. I take that money. Never mind, I take that money back.
This guy fucking takes the money back she wants from you? No, he's a pussy. You are a fucking pussy.
This is great.
What is going on here?
Give her the fucking money back. He made her fucking give him the money back.
This is really unfair.
There we go.
Yeah, fuck that. I don't play this fucking shit. He fucking made her give the money back.
What do you mean made her? How do you make?
He
How do you-
fucking told her to give the money back and accused her of cheating.
How do you make someone give the money back? I don't understand.
I don't know. He took it. She fucking he somehow talked her into giving the fucking money.
Why was
Anyway, and then it goes on. Now, other people are saying that no, she volunteered to get the money back. I don't know that the full details, but it was obviously contentious, Joe. So I don't think it was just
I think he was a sore loser. I think he was a sore loser there because like I said, at the time she made that call, there's no way she can know that she's going to win. If anything, the odds were still favoring him 53-47. So she should not, under like normal statistics, she shouldn't have won the hand. Under normal ways of playing, as far as strategy and understanding what your opponent may possibly have, it made no sense what she did. But that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And since it did happen, and she made that call at a point in time where, unless you think she knew the cards themselves that were going to come up, there's no way she could have been cheating. It doesn't make any sense. Because, like I said, there were so many outs he could have had, which would have kicked her ass. A 7, an 8, a 6, a jack, a club. All of those cards, he wins, she loses, and there's no way for her to know that none of those cards are going to come. And they ran through it. Those of you who didn't understand what was happening there, sometimes when there's an all-in, what they'll do is they'll basically split, and they'll say, okay, we're going to play it out through the last card here. We'll play it out 3 times, and we'll pretend it's for a third of the pot each time. So they sort of do that so that that's less likely anyone's going to get decimated, and it's a way of sort of chopping the pot and making it less about a flip of a coin. So that's why they do that in these poker tournaments sometimes.
Not so rude. I'll be right back.
No, that's fine.
Hey, Eric, before you jump off, I've actually got to. Oh, okay, never mind. I'll stay on. If you go, do you? I'll stay around.
Yeah. So
keep going.
No, my point is, the more I watch that, so I am reassessing as far as her offering the money back there, that there's definitely more going into the calculus, because I can't even fathom how she could have been cheating there. Because even if she knows his cards, let's assume she knows his cards, at that point in time she's making the call, it's still a bad call. It's not like she made it after the river came out. She made that bet. She made that bet at a point in time where he had an advantage over her.
But the allegation of the cheating wasn't that she knew his cards. The allegation of the cheating was that somehow she knew what cards were coming up next.
So that, right. If you're telling me that there's some way that you're alleging that she had inside information about that, that's the only way that she could be cheating in a way which makes sense.
I have no clue how
on earth she would know that is bizarre.
But then again, I'm naive to the poker stuff. I play and I win sometimes, I lose sometimes, but mostly
that's what we need to do. We need to have a poker tournament, like that dude. We need to get
that would be fun.
Legal mindset. We'll get Kurt. I'm sure Kurt would be great. Get a couple of the women in also, and have a freaking poker tournament. Oh my god,
the women.
And they don't have to dress the way she dressed. Dress whatever makes you feel comfortable.
That's very appreciated, Joe. Thank you for allowing that.
Right now. But what I'm saying is, I think the public would love to watch us play poker with each other. That would be
it would be fun. It would be fun to see how some of us can blow up. And then how do you set it up to play on a live stream? I mean, there's probably a way to do it. But,
yeah.
I mean,
that'd be so freaking cool.
Either way, I mean, it'd be fun. But
Eric, you're gonna host our poker tournament here. We're gonna have like.
Oh, dude, no way! I always win by never playing. That's just like the lottery. I win by never playing. That's my goal. That'd be great. But actually, I guess it's a good time to wrap up. Rob, you've got a show coming tonight. I know. Joe, what do you have going? You have nothing coming tonight, so I'll make you last.
I got nothing. I actually have a lot of Jewish holidays. I'm going to be around Saturday night. I'm not going to be around Sunday or Monday because of Jewish holidays. But the Jewish holidays are wrapping up next week, so I'll be getting back into my normal flow. But,
you guys have your crazy, crazy holidays. Rob, you are going to be talking about CPS, I think, tonight, and shenanigans.
Yeah, some shenanigans with someone false reporting via CPS and being down not to throw it out on Twitter the day before the Daily Mail releases an article about a child that died in a garage because CPS wasn't able to get there.
Classy.
So that jackass is going to get roasted tonight.
Alita, what do you have going?
I'm starting a new series on Monday, which I haven't announced what it is yet because I'm going to tell my members and supporters first. But I'm going to post it eventually. So, going to start a long-term series on my channel on Monday. I'm very excited about it.
Okay, and I have coming up today at 5:30 p.m. Eastern on America's Untold Stories, Freeform Friday with Robert Barnes. Anybody who's ever seen it really loves these because Mark Robert is like the Barnes of pop culture. And those two get going, and it's kind of like just hitting a button on a jukebox in any subject, and it is total stream of consciousness. I kind of watch them going back and forth like I'm watching a ping pong match, and I have no idea where it's going to go. It'll be political, it'll be cultural.
Get Rob on our poker tournament. I want Robert Barnes in that poker tournament. He would be phenomenal. I want to see.
He probably would kick your ass.
I think he'd probably beat all of our asses.
I want to go. I want to go up against Robert Barnes. I want to see that cigar there. I want to see him pulling, his pulling his scotch on the rocks. I totally want to see him sitting back there with his vest and his tie and just puffing away on that cigar.
Yeah, and his smile.
Yeah.
Which would just be stuck on his face as he takes everybody's money like Boss Hogg.
I would love to watch it. I'd love to square off against him in poker. That'd be so much fun.
All right. Well, and one last pitch. Actually, it's my first pitch on that. But if you guys like this kind of content, I do these legal panels every couple of weeks. You saw from the commentary from Joe, I've been doing it for a minute too.
Mm-hmm.
So please consider subscribing, share with a friend, and everybody have a fantastic day.